And how about The Simpsons? How about The Simpsons keep calling
Predicting
it?
everything.
They predicted the Apple Vision Pro. There's an old Simpsons episode where people are walking around with those goggles and they're falling into manholes and
things that actually end up happening in real life. One of the biggest happened to be when they predicted Donald Trump would become president.
Can a cartoon really predict the future? From predicting Donald Trump's presidency to envisioning smartwatches and video calls way before they started to exist, The Simpsons has continued to shock the world with events it foresees. This show has such an uncanny knack for turning fiction into reality. But could it be mere coincidence, or is there something more to these startling predictions? Join us as we reveal the top 20 times The Simpsons peered into the future with rare accuracy. The mass of the Higgs boson particle. In one episode of The Simpsons, Homer embarks on a journey to become an inventor, inspired by Thomas Edison's groundbreaking creations. While brainstorming ideas, Homer scribbles an equation on a chalkboard during a brief montage. Surprisingly, this seemingly random equation was later found to closely predict the mass of the Higgs boson particle, 14 years before scientists officially discovered it in 2012.
Homer Simpson, yes, a fictional character, may in fact be a scientific genius. As it's been revealed, he predicted the mass of the elementary Higgs boson particle more than a decade before scientists.
The Higgs boson, also called the God particle, is crucial to understanding why particles have mass and plays a vital role in the formation of the universe. This uncanny moment not only shows The Simpsons' attention to detail, but also its ability to weave extraordinary scientific ideas into seemingly ordinary storylines. But what do you think? Could this be real or pure coincidence? If you think this is too strange, hold on till you see the next incredible prediction. Faulty voting machines. In a Halloween episode of The Simpsons, Homer heads to the voting booth during the 2008 U.S. presidential election to vote for Barack Obama. But when he tries to select Obama, the machine repeatedly registers his vote for John McCain instead. Things take a wild turn as the machine malfunctions and sucks Homer inside. While exaggerated for comedic effect, this moment strangely foreshadowed real-life events. During the 2012 election, a video surfaced showing a voting machine in Pennsylvania switching a vote for Obama to Mitt Romney. The striking similarity left many viewers stunned. Though voting machines don't literally eat people, this prediction showed concerns about election technology reliability years before they became a real issue. Richard Branson in space. In one unexpected moment of The Simpsons, Homer and Lisa travel to Puerto Rico to verify the authenticity of a priceless painting Homer purchased for just $20. While the episode focuses on art forgery, a brief cutaway shows billionaire Richard Branson relaxing aboard a spacecraft. At the time, it seemed like just another quirky background gag. But 7 years later, Branson made headlines with his historic Virgin Galactic spaceflight in 2021, realizing his dream of commercial space travel. This quick scene now feels oddly prophetic, capturing the ambition and vision Branson would later bring to life. Once again, The Simpsons showcased its strange ability to predict future milestones hidden in seemingly unrelated storylines. Trump's victory. In a 2000 episode of The Simpsons, a surprising glimpse into the future predicted Donald Trump's presidency.
Things that actually end up happening in real life. One of the biggest happened to be when they predicted Donald Trump would become president.
A staggering 16 years before it happened. The scene takes place in a vision of Bart's life as a 40-year-old slacker, while Lisa has risen to become president of the United States. During a meeting, Lisa mentions inheriting a budget crisis caused by President Trump. This casual line seemed far-fetched at the time, but became reality in 2016 when Trump was elected. The strange accuracy of this prediction shocked viewers, especially when the show later acknowledged it with a chalkboard gag stating, "Being right sucks." But was this just a lucky guess, or does The Simpsons have a knack for predicting history? Old fan mail. Imagine waiting 50 years for a response from your idol. That's what happened to two huge Beatles fans who sent a tape to Paul McCartney in 1963. Decades later, the BBC helped track down the legendary musician, and he finally wrote back. What did he say? "Dear friend, thanks for the amazing artwork. You're a talented artist." The fans were thrilled and can't help but wonder what other secrets are hidden in the past, waiting to be uncovered. The Simpsons might just be the answer to find out. This next prediction is even more shocking than you imagine. Disney buys Fox. In a 1998 episode of The Simpsons, a joke foreshadowed a massive merger between Disney and Fox. The episode ended with a sign reading 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. Fast forward to 2017, and Disney announced its acquisition of 21st Century Fox for $52 billion. The Simpsons officially became Disney characters, and the rest is history. Talk about a prophecy coming true. Autocorrect. Get ready for a blast from the past. In a hilarious 1994 episode of The Simpsons, Dolph's Apple Newton malfunctioned, turning beat-up Martin into eat-up Martha. This comedic mishap wasn't just a joke. It predicted the autocorrect struggles we'd face on handheld devices years later. Although autocorrect existed in 1994, it wasn't until 2007 that it became a widespread problem. But here's the amazing part. Apple developers were inspired by this episode to improve autocorrect on their devices. Who would have thought a cartoon joke could influence real-life tech innovations? The Simpsons' prophecy power strikes again. Legalized marijuana in Canada. You won't believe how The Simpsons predicted Canada's cannabis legalization. In a 2005 episode, Mr. Burns cancels the town's prescription drug plan, forcing residents to seek affordable medication in Canada. During Ned Flanders' trip north of the border, he's offered Reeferino, and this is a nod to Canada's future legalization of marijuana. Fast forward to 2018, and Canada becomes the second country in the world to legalize recreational cannabis use. The episode's prophecy was made nearly 14 years before Canada's historic decision.
From cannabis becoming legal, so we want to know, will you use recreational weed? Grab your phone and vote right now.
The Simpsons writers must have had a crystal ball. This strange prediction is just another example of how the show's satire and humor often foreshadow real-life events. Blinky the Three-Eyed Fish. In the show's second season, Bart Simpson reels in a three-eyed fish named Blinky near a nuclear power plant. The episode pokes fun at nuclear safety, but little did we know it was foreshadowing a real-life event. Fast forward to 2011, when Argentine fishermen caught a three-eyed wolffish in a lake contaminated with nuclear waste. The lake, Cordoba's Lake Cabra Corral, was used as a dumping ground for hot water from a nearby nuclear power plant. This strange coincidence raises questions about the impact of nuclear pollution on our environment, but that's not all. Similar cases have been reported in other parts of the world, including the discovery of mutated fish in the contaminated waters surrounding Fukushima's nuclear plant in Japan. The censoring of David. Artistic censorship has been a contentious issue for centuries, and The Simpsons cleverly predicted a modern-day controversy surrounding Michelangelo's iconic sculpture, David. In the show's second season, a touring David exhibit sparks outrage in Springfield, with some residents attempting to cover the statue's nudity. Now, in 2001, 2014, and 2016, where similar campaigns sought to conceal David's natural form. This strange parallel highlights the ongoing debate between artistic expression and moral values. The Simpsons' satire not only mocked past censorship attempts, but also foreshadowed future controversies. Grease thefts. Imagine a world where thieves target a surprising new commodity: grease. In a 2008 episode of The Simpsons, Homer and Bart concoct a scheme to collect and sell grease for profit, but their get-rich-quick plan lands them in hot water with the shady Acme Grease and Shovel Company. Fast forward to 2012, when the United States experienced a bizarre crime wave: grease thefts. With the price of used cooking oil skyrocketing, thieves began targeting restaurants, including a McDonald's, to steal their valuable grease. It's unclear whether these real-life thieves were inspired by Homer's antics, but the similarity is undeniable. What would you say when you see this next real-life event that The Simpsons predicted? Smartwatches. In the 1995 episode Lisa's Wedding, The Simpsons predicted a revolutionary technology that would change the world: smartwatches. In the episode, Lisa's fiancé, Hugh Parkfield, sports a wrist device that doubles as a watch and phone. Then, in 1999, when the first smartwatch with phone capabilities was unveiled, This innovative device was the IBM Watchpad,
They predicted the Apple Vision Pro. There's an old Simpsons episode.
a touchscreen smartwatch that allowed users to make phone calls, send emails, and even access the internet. The Simpsons prophecy was remarkably accurate, considering that smartwatches were still in their infancy in the 1990s. Today, smartwatches are an essential part of our daily lives, and it's fascinating to see how The Simpsons predicted this technological advancement over 2 decades ago. Lady Gaga's halftime show. You won't believe how The Simpsons predicted Lady Gaga's iconic Super Bowl halftime show. In the 2012 episode Lisa Goes Gaga, Lady Gaga performs in Springfield, wearing a dazzling silver outfit and flying over the crowd in a harness. At the time, it seemed like a playful parody of Gaga's flamboyant style, but fast forward to Super Bowl 51 in 2017, and Lady Gaga's halftime show was shockingly similar to her Simpsons appearance. She wore a nearly identical outfit and, in a thrilling moment, soared above the crowd in a harness. The similarities were uncanny, leaving fans wondering if Gaga had taken inspiration from The Simpsons. Airplane restaurant. The Simpsons predicted a unique dining experience that's taking the world by storm: airplane restaurants. In the 1998 episode, Homer and Marge's anniversary plans are foiled, and they end up at Up and Buffet, a quirky airplane-themed eatery that simulates turbulence and serves leftovers in ARF bags. Fast forward to the present, and you'll find airplane restaurants around the globe offering everything from fast food to fine dining. These converted planes provide an immersive experience, complete with flight attendants, aircraft seats, and even simulated takeoff and landing sounds. While the Simpsons version was humorous and over the top, the real-life airplane restaurants are a testament to the power of creative innovation. Yard Work Simulator. In a 1998 episode of The Simpsons, Bart is fascinated by a virtual reality game called Yard Work Simulator. His mom, Marge, humorously points out that he can do the same tasks in real life at home. Fast forward to today, and simulator games have become a massive hit. Players can now experience the thrill of mundane tasks like farming, cooking, and even yard work through consoles, PCs, and smartphones. Virtual reality technology has taken it to the next level, allowing gamers to immerse themselves in these simulated experiences. USA wins gold in curling. The Simpsons predicted a shocking Olympic victory that would leave fans stunned. In the episode, Marge and Homer join a curling team and surprisingly represent the USA in the Winter Olympics, defeating Sweden to take the gold. Then, in the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, history repeats itself. The USA curling team, led by John Schuster, pulled off a stunning upset, defeating Sweden 10-7 to win the gold medal. This miraculous win marked the first Olympic gold medal for the USA in curling.
Did this episode of The Simpsons from 8 years ago predict the future? Marge and Homer Simpson are depicted on the U.S. Olympic curling team, and they take home the gold.
The Simpsons prophecy was spot on, and we're left wondering, what other sporting surprises will this animated powerhouse predict? The Titan disaster. In a chilling episode of The Simpsons, Homer's submersible becomes trapped underwater, mirroring a real-life disaster that would occur years later. Fast forward to 2023, when OceanGate's Titan submersible embarked on a doomed expedition to explore the Titanic wreckage. In a heartbreaking parallel to the Simpsons episode, the Titan submersible imploded, claiming the lives of all 5 passengers on board. The strange similarities between the two incidents have left many stunned. Hold on, because the next prediction will leave you more stunned. NSA spying. The Simpsons predicted another shocking truth, and it is none other than the NSA's mass surveillance program. In the episode, Homer's family escapes to Alaska, but on their way back, they discover the NSA's extensive network for monitoring people's communications. This mysterious revelation became a reality in 2013 when Edward Snowden exposed the NSA's surveillance programs, revealing that the agency collects intelligence by any means possible, citing national interest. Snowden's disclosure sparked widespread concern about government overreach and the erosion of privacy. The NSA's programs, including PRISM, allow the agency to collect data from major internet companies, while Section 702 of FISA enables the collection of international communications. Tiger attack. The Simpsons foresaw a shocking tiger attack on a magician, mirroring a real-life tragedy. In the episode, a white tiger named Anastasia, part of a magic show at Mr. Burns' casino, has a flashback and attacks its handlers, Gunther and Ernst, a parody of famous magicians Siegfried and Roy. In a chilling coincidence, 10 years later, Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy was mauled by a 400-pound Siberian tiger named Montecore during a live performance at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Roy survived but suffered severe injuries, forcing him to retire. Snake clubbing. The Simpsons predicted a wild and wacky event that's now a real-life phenomenon. In the episode Whacking Day, the townspeople of Springfield gather to club snakes in a bizarre annual tradition. While this was inspired by rattlesnake rodeos, the episode foreshadowed an even more extreme event. Fast forward to 2013, when the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission launched the Python Challenge, encouraging residents to capture or kill as many Burmese pythons as possible. The competition has become an annual event, with a $10,000 prize for the winner. In 2022, Matthew Conception took home the top prize after catching 28 snakes. The Simpsons prophecy has become a reality, showcasing the power of creative storytelling and the blurred lines between fiction and reality. We've come to the end of this video. In that case, what was different this time? And how bad was the situation that required his personal intervention?
If you want to land on your feet after all this, there are certain things you have to do, and you're going to have to lead your son.
Join us as we discover what happened as Dr. Phil faced the bullied teen. The heartbreaking letter. Dr. Phil McGraw, known for tackling some of life's toughest challenges on his hit television show, is someone we all know would never look away from someone on the verge of a mental breakdown. But when this desperate mom sent in her letter to the television network where Dr. Phil broadcasted his shows, it was so heart-wrenching and emotional that the staff decided to show it to Dr. Phil before making it public. After reading it, Dr. Phil snapped to action immediately. According to the letter, this mom was at her wit's end because she had just caught her son attempting to commit suicide for the 4th time in 2 months, and although he had refused to say a word to her, she suspected he was the victim of bullying attempts at his school. Dr. Phil wasn't just planning to meet the family and offer a few words of advice. He needed to see firsthand what kind of environment could push a young boy to the brink. Then, he did something no one had seen coming. When he announced his visit, the small town lit up. The news spread quickly, sparking conversations at every coffee shop, school gate, and local diner. People had wildly different opinions about what Dr. Phil's arrival meant. For some, he was nothing short of a real-life hero. Parents whose kids had faced similar struggles whispered to one another about how things might finally change with someone like him stepping in. Kids who had spent too many days dodging cruel jokes and crueler classmates wondered if this was the moment things would get better. But not everyone was rolling out the welcome mat. Some locals scoffed at the idea of a celebrity swooping in to fix their problems. They wondered what a guy from Hollywood would know about how they ran their schools, and were very sure his visit would do more harm than good. The school staff, already walking on eggshells, found themselves under even more pressure. Teachers whispered nervously in the hallways, their discomfort increasing with each news headline. The principal was torn between frustration and panic. How had things escalated to this point, and what would it mean for their school? While the town debated, Dr. Phil prepared. His team reached out to gather every detail they could. School policies, records of reported incidents, and even testimonies from parents and students willing to speak. It was clear that this wasn't just about one boy. This was part of a larger problem that had been swept under the rug for far too long. When the day finally came, it felt like the entire town was holding its breath. People lined the streets, their eyes scanning every passing car. The moment Dr. Phil stepped out of his SUV, it felt like the atmosphere had shifted. Some people cheered, thrilled to see someone they'd only known from their TV screens now standing in their town. Others watched silently, their expressions a mix of curiosity and doubt. Dr. Phil did not waste any time with the crowd of onlookers. Instead, he headed straight to the teenage boy's home. Dr. Phil's interaction with the family. When Dr. Phil entered, the exhausted mother didn't break into tears or make dramatic gestures. Instead, she simply began to speak, after greeting him warmly and offering him some coffee. She told him about the first signs, how her once bubbly son had stopped wanting to go to school, and the excuses he began to give. She shared the scary moment when she discovered his first suicide attempt, and how each one that followed seemed like her young son had decided there was nothing for him in this world. Her voice cracked when she described how helpless she felt, knowing something terrible was happening at school but being unable to stop it. Dr. Phil listened intently, his expression steady. This was why he had come, not for the cameras or the headlines, but for the possibility that he could save a mother from losing her son and a young boy from wasting his life. But he didn't end his visit there. From their home, he headed to the school, determined to find out what had gone so terribly wrong. The staff had prepared for his arrival, but no amount of preparation could soften the questions Dr. Phil came armed with. He wanted the truth, what policies were in place, how bullying incidents were handled, and why this boy had slipped through the cracks. The school administrators were defensive, but Dr. Phil wasn't there for polished responses. He pressed them, digging deeper, refusing to let the conversation move away from the hard facts. The town hall meeting that followed was nothing short of electric. Dr. Phil stood in front of a packed auditorium, addressing not just the parents and teachers, but the students as well. And true to his nature, he didn't sugarcoat his word. He let them know that bullying was not a rite of passage, but a slow, deliberate destruction of someone's spirit. For every skeptical glance, there were a dozen nods of agreement. Parents who had stayed quiet for years found themselves speaking up, sharing stories they had buried out of shame or fear. Teens who had suffered in silence finally felt seen. This was the moment the entire town had been waiting for. Dr. Phil, known for his ability to cut through noise and get to the heart of a problem, would finally meet the boy accused of tormenting his peer to the brink of despair. The atmosphere was tense, every seat filled, every eye fixed on the stage where 2 chairs waited under the spotlight. Dr. Phil entered with his usual calm, commanding presence, the kind that immediately quieted a room without a single word. On the stage sat the boy, a wiry teenager whose posture screamed defiance. Arms crossed tightly over his chest, his gaze focused anywhere but on the man now sitting across from him. Without hesitation, Dr. Phil opened the conversation by asking the boy to share his perspective. The teenager mumbled something inaudible, his words lost in the tension of the room. When pressed to explain further, his response was defensive, and he claimed it had all been jokes and that he had meant no harm. Dr. Phil didn't let up, however. He asked the boy to think about what those so-called jokes had meant to the other child. He painted a picture of the boy's life, the isolation, the shame, and the devastating moments that led to 4 suicide attempts. The room was silent as the weight of those words sank in. At first, the boy tried to shrug it off, repeating that he didn't think it was a big deal. But when asked why he felt the need to act this way, his bravado began to crumble. As the boy fumbled for an answer, he admitted something that shifted the tone entirely. Sometimes he felt like no one cared about him either. His father was rarely around, and when he was, he seemed more interested in his phone than in his son. His mother, overwhelmed by her own struggles, often snapped at him without realizing the weight of her words. The boy confessed that for years he had felt like nothing he did mattered, and the anger he carried found its outlet in his behavior at school. That confession hung in the air, exposing a vulnerability he had tried so hard to hide. His arms uncrossed and his shoulders slumped under the weight of his own words. The room seemed to exhale collectively as the boy's tough exterior crumbled. He wiped at his face, trying to hold back tears. Dr. Phil didn't judge or ridicule. Instead, he nodded quietly, understanding the connection between the pain the boy carried and the actions that pain had driven him to take. He gently laid a hand on the boy's shoulders and explained that hurting others wouldn't lessen his own struggles. Instead, it would only spread the pain further. The boy listened, his resistance fading, his gaze finally meeting Dr. Phil's. When asked what he wanted moving forward, the boy admitted that he didn't want to keep going down the same path. He wanted to be better, but Dr. Phil wasn't moved. Not yet. He made it clear that words alone wouldn't be enough. Change required action, accountability, and consistency. The boy nodded, a flicker of determination on his face. For the first time, he was a kid who might have a chance to rewrite his story instead of just the bully. The confrontation between the boys. Then came the next step, the confrontation. The victim, a quiet boy with downcast eyes, was brought onto the stage. He moved hesitantly, clutching a small piece of paper in his hand. His presence alone shifted the dynamic, with the bully visibly uncomfortable as he was faced with the consequences of his actions. Dr. Phil mediated the conversation, creating a space where both teens could speak openly. The victim, voice trembling, began to read from the paper. He described how the bullying had made him feel worthless, scared, like he didn't belong anywhere. He talked about the nights he cried himself to sleep, the mornings he begged his mom not to send him to school, and the times he thought ending it all was the only way to make the pain stop. Tears streamed down his face as he spoke, and soon the bully was crying too. He stammered out an apology, his voice cracking as he admitted he hadn't realized the depth of the harm he had caused. He told the victim that he was sorry, not just for what he did, but for the pain that was now so clear to him. The moment was raw and powerful, and the room seemed to hold its collective breath. Then, something unexpected happened. The victim looked up, his tears slowing, and said he forgave him. It wasn't easy, and it didn't erase the hurt, but it was a first step toward healing for both of them. Dr. Phil, his voice steady, announced that the bully would be starting counseling to address his unresolved pain, and would also complete community service as a way to give back to the very community he had hurt. The victim, meanwhile, would work with a mentor to rebuild his confidence, and Dr. Phil himself offered to guide him through the process. The session ended with Dr. Phil addressing the audience. He spoke about the responsibility of creating environments where children feel safe, both at home and at school. He urged the town to be more vigilant, to look out for warning signs, and to intervene before things became worse. Over the following weeks, the bully began his counseling sessions, slowly unpacking years of pain, and threw himself into community service, repairing the very school where he had once caused so much harm. The victim, with Dr. Phil's mentorship, began to smile again, his confidence returning as he took small but meaningful steps toward healing. 3 months later, he came back, and while addressing the community again, he mentioned the countless letters he had received over the years from parents, just like the one who reached out about her son. For every child whose story was shared, countless others suffered in silence, believing there was no escape from the torment. Dr. Phil also mentioned the need to teach children the values of kindness and accountability from a young age. He encouraged parents and educators to be proactive, to model the behavior they wanted to see.
It's time that we push back against cancel culture. It's time that we push back against intimidation tactics.
And to create spaces where children felt safe sharing their struggles without fear of judgment. He reminded everyone that bullying thrives in silence, and the most powerful tool against it was speaking up. Whether it was intervening when witnessing harmful behavior or supporting initiatives that promote mental health and inclusion, every action mattered. In this video, we'll show why this age-old fascination has become the latest mystery drawing everyone's attention. What are the hidden truths of this ancient mystery? What have the Google searches revealed about it? Let's find out. When we hear about the Nephilim, we think of giants, celestial beings, and a story that blends myth and reality. These mysterious beings have fascinated mythologies, religions, and cultural stories throughout history. The whole concept of the Nephilim has a lot of shocking twists that have made it a subject of perpetual curiosity. The fascination with the Nephilim comes from the many ways people interpret them, creating a rich mix of mythology, theology, and ancient stories. The interest in understanding Nephilim hasn't faded over time. In fact, it's been revitalized in the digital era. More online searches indicate a renewed curiosity about these mysterious beings, leading to a modern exploration of long-standing questions. Whether viewed through a religious lens or approached as a symbolic representation, the mystery of the Nephilim continues to intrigue and inspire curiosity across different intellectual and creative domains. Before we dive deeper and find out why this ancient term has become the focus of our collective online curiosity, let's talk about what the Nephilim means. The Nephilim is a term mentioned in ancient texts that holds a mysterious place in various religious and mythological traditions. The concept of the Nephilim appears in sources such as the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis. It has sparked many interpretations and debates among scholars, theologians, and enthusiasts. In the biblical narrative, the Nephilim are described as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. This intriguing passage in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4, has been a source of fascination and speculation for centuries. The identity of the sons of God and the nature of their union with human women are subjects of much debate. Some interpret the sons of God as fallen angels or divine beings, while others see them as representatives of a righteous lineage. The term Nephilim is believed to be derived from the Hebrew root NPL, meaning to fall or fallen ones, adding an ominous and supernatural element to these beings. Which of these predictions did you find strange? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click on the following video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.